Oh, they changed.
This is The Chris Heasley Show. A Mike Kahn presentation. Coming to you from Radio to Bang, the North America's premier broadcasting network.
Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. And on tonight's show, we are going to be talking about the hot topics that are racing across the state of Texas. And we have two people that are very well qualified to bring us that news. And in the studio tonight, we have Alex Hale, candidate for Congressional District 7, which includes the Sunnyside, Meyerland, Bel Air area.
Yep.
Great to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being on the show. And we also have here Tamara McFarlane, who is a candidate for county clerk in Fort Bend County.
Correct.
And Tamara played an instrumental role in subduing, ending, to some extent, the hypersexualization of the children in the state of Texas. Is that right?
Correct. For 6 years, I worked to remove pornographic books from school libraries, worked on legislation to try to get bills passed. In fact, I was endorsed by Steve Toth because of my work on SB 13 and 12, which stops the gender transitioning of children in schools. A little known fact that there were high school gender sexuality clubs that were basically transitioning kids from the age of 14 up. And so I provided evidence and testimony to get that amendment passed. And it did pass, and we've got the strongest child protection legislation in the country now.
Tamara, I got a question for you. Why is that such a hot button issue? Because, you know, in this show, we brought light to what was called VOCA at the time, which was an underhanded way to sort of steer children away from their parents. And when we did that, the show became the center point of criticism within largely even the Republican Party in this area in Texas. Why, when we talk about the hypersexualization of children, why is that a hot button issue?
I got all the arrows thrown at me over the years for that. I was in the news. There was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of silent majority support, but nobody really wanted to step up and speak about it. But what they don't realize is when a child grabs a book off the shelf and they're getting a pornographic landmine, that is child sexual abuse material, CSAM. And so, you know, there were some parents that were very brave that would step up and speak about it. I don't understand the pushback. I think everybody's glad that it's gotten better. It's just one of those out of sight, out of mind things, you know, but it's psychological abuse for children.
It is, absolutely. I mean, you know, again, our community in Fort Bend came together to put this fire out. And David Hamilton, who was on the school board in Fort Bend ISD at the time, played an instrumental role in exposing these materials in Fort Bend schools. And in doing so, what he had to do was read the books. And he put the material out there. And so what the leftists did in Fort Bend is they attacked him for exposing the material. They did not have an issue with the material being in the school, but they had an issue with David Hamilton or any other parent who would expose it. And it's really a bad trend because every parent, every citizen in the county has their right to address their county governance. They have their right to address their school boards, their county commissioner courts, whatever it is. And when it is that establishment that attacks them, it shows me that they have something to hide. Is that sort of what you think happened in the Fort Bend ISD school district?
I don't think that anybody in the establishment or the district wants to admit that they're wrong. I don't think that anybody really wants to come out publicly and say, hey, we made a mistake. And people have to understand that these school lists, these school book lists came from the American Library Association, trickled down to their 6 sub-associations. So the School Librarians Association, and these are trusted golden standard institutions over the years that were captured just in the last 5 to 10 years. So when, you know, I've reviewed over 300 books, K through 12 books, and David Hamilton and I would trade titles, right? and I'd say, hey, check your school district for these titles. We found that every school district has the same titles because they're following the same lists. And so this is a vendor issue. The vendor is not disclosing the sexual content, and therefore the school librarians trust it, right? They don't know that it's been captured. So it's not the librarian's fault. I think now, we're working towards laws that make it a crime, so they have to be more vigilant,
One of the things that I remember back then, in my opinion, your county governance should be absolutely transparent. It should be easy to see, easy to understand. And when it is your county officials that stand up and begin to chastise you or attempt to sort of make you an outcast, it's to me, it shows that they have something to hide. And in those school boards, what they did, they put up all these procedures to sort of create barriers from parents just asking the questions, what's in these libraries, and let's get the pornographic materials out of the libraries. And one of the things that they would do, they'd say, okay, well, we need the parents to point out the books, and the parents can then petition to have the books removed. Rather than proactively going in, there was a proposal made where the school board, the superintendent, if he saw one that was really perverse, he could just yank the chain, pull it out, right? And they're like, no, we have to have a bureaucratic process in place. And what that was an effort to create a bureaucracy around this pornography and ensure that it stays in place, because parents are working 50 hours a week and then everything else in their lives. And then they got to go take on the task of auditing the school library. The school library should not be audited. That was state bureaucrats putting in barriers to protect their power and protect this illicit material in the school boards. Am I right?
I wouldn't say it was the bureaucrats. I would say that the Republican Party was trying to pass legislation to solve this problem, and the laws would be passed, but then there wouldn't be penalties. There wouldn't be teeth in it. And so we continued to find pornographic books. We would bring it to light, and we kept asking the school districts, can you please do an audit? Just do a search of all the books that have the word sexual and make sure that it's, if it's not educational, review it. They never did a proactive review, unfortunately. And so it finally took the 89th legislative session to get movement on bills that have teeth in it, that criminalize, until you have bills that have penalties in it. You can have laws, but they're not going to be enforced because there's no penalties. So then it would be a civil matter, and no parent is going to sue the government or their school district. It's just too costly. So we have moved in the right direction, and I am very hopeful that, but again, parents still need to be vigilant. For example, the other night, Monday night, the Katy ISD School Board approved a book that was in K through 12, and it was a Pizzagate book, literally talking about Pizzagate and how Pizzagate is fake news, and then it went to describe Pizzagate. So the board voted, and I think it was a majority, like a 4-3 vote or something, where they decided to retain the book for grade 6 and up. I don't want my child in grade 6 to be reading about Pizzagate and how they consider that fake news and the sexual nature of that. So again, we still have a bit of a problem, but it is moving in the right direction.
So, Alex, you're going to find yourself in a pitted position against Lizzie Fletcher, most likely, right?
Yes.
And Lizzie Fletcher largely is an advocate of all these things that we're opposing so far in this show. Tell us about that. What is her stance on these sort of sexualized issues, and what sort of activism has she done?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's directly related to what Tamara was just talking about. I mean, Representative Fletcher is a fan of men playing women's sports, and she is a fan of gender-affirming care. And, I mean, the list goes on. She has really even run her campaigns and built her brand on this social issue of being very pro-transgender, very pro, this hyper-sexualized behavior, and she's supportive of these topics in any and every way. And it's interesting because when you then think about school performance, I mean, one thing that I specifically want to address when I become a congressman for District 7 is the fact that we have subpar public schools in this district. And what's a big reason for that? What's a driver of that? Well, it could be that we're not focusing on the fundamentals anymore. We're not focusing on reading, writing, arithmetic. we're focusing on pornographic books and allowing those to be in our, libraries and these performative, very much liberal, progressive policies and ideas are what the bureaucracy is caring about more than actual kids learning to read, kids learning to write, kids learning to add and subtract.
I do want to add to that. I was a reviewer for the state Board of Education last year for curriculum, for all Texas curriculums. And I flagged so many ideological, so there's not a sexual nature that necessarily is a problem in the curriculum. I was doing elementary, grade 4 and 5 math. And I'll give you an example of ideological. There was 9 pictures of Sandra Sotomayor in grade 4 math. And then it went on to talk about windmills good, oil bad. And so I would flag all of these because we have Education Code 22 where we're not supposed to have ideological political things. So, I was able to remove dozens and dozens of references of leftist ideology out of our curriculum. So it's the vendors, really. You can blame the bureaucrats, but the vendors are the head of the snake.
To blame. Yeah.
Yeah, both in the books and the curriculum. Yeah, we've got a problem there. We have to regulate.
Let's switch the conversation to local. And Tamara, you're running for county clerk of courts. So tell us first of all about yourself. What is it that qualifies you for the county clerk of courts?
Thank you. Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to start and say I'm a mother of 3 and a Christian. I have a heart for service. I very much like to volunteer, which is, I run a real estate business, but I also have been volunteering for years, rebuilding homes, keeping people in their homes. During Hurricane Harvey, I helped rebuild over 18 homes and brought $500,000 worth of supplies on my contractor account from Home Depot into Canyon Gate. And it was just really important for me to help our community. So I really do love helping people stay in their homes. And then most recently, I was endorsed by Veterans for America First because of my work to rebuild a veterans home in the Hill Country floods. I had heard about a veteran named Joe that had his house totally flooded, and him and his daughter had called me, and so I helped rebuild that. I sent my trade out there, put him up in a hotel, and donated that money to help put his walls back and put his floors back. And so I do really like to serve. I feel that we are called to serve. I'm Christian, and so I feel that that's a duty. And so when this county clerk opportunity came up, I prayed about it and read the courts.gov guide from the state to make sure I understood the statutes and the powers and the responsibilities of a county clerk, and it's directly related to my professional background. And so I was an award-winning government auditor. I was kind of the auditor brought in to audit the auditors, and I ended up finding millions of dollars that were missed, in the statute of limitations year. So millions and millions of underpaid royalties, oil royalties for taxpayers. And I won a legislative award of excellence for that. And then I was a land acquisitions expert for Fortune 500 companies like BP, Shell, Conoco. And so God blessed me with an amazing career that I could write about. And I'm also one of only 4 GOP-appointed central count election judges. And the reason that is so important for the county clerk role is the county clerk in our county sits as vice chair of the election commission. And, currently we don't really have oversight provided by the election commission. They meet once every 16 months. This is actually supposed to be, by law, a board-like oversight of the election office. Okay, so if you can imagine, board of directors has a lot of power, right, over their CEO. This is a similar situation with the election commission. So it really would take somebody with election integrity experience to provide that oversight. So that really excites me. And also dealing with thousands of titles and registrations and records over my career, every acquisition and divestiture. My last deal was $1 billion for Shell. So dealing with thousands of records and registry titles, leases, licenses. I've dealt with these documents my entire career. So, but I want to go in there and basically utilize the 2 chief deputies that are there. It's 100 people. There's a staff of 100, a budget of $7 million. And basically, you know, those chief deputies have been there for 20 years. So I'm not going to go in there and disrupt everything, okay? I want to go in there and utilize the people that are there that have been doing this for years and just make it better. And then sprinkle in the election oversight. And the number one goal that I will make my mission, and I'm 100% sure that I can do, is end property fraud. I was shocked to learn that this is still a big issue in Fort Bend County. So you can imagine that fraudsters are transferring home titles out of the homeowners' names, and then they find out they don't own their home anymore. This can be stopped with a proper audit procedure, and I'm very confident that. So those are my goals: end property fraud, provide election oversight, and then maintain continuation of service and improve the systems a little bit, integrate them, and get a better, integrated system for the county clerk. That the one that they have right now is pretty old, but yeah. So that's why I'm running.
Great.
Yeah.
We're going to get back to that in just one second, but I want to take a second to talk about our featured product, which is the X39 patch. How do I get this on the screen? The X39 patch. Sorry, I'm a little bit backwards. The X39 patch. So what this is the most amazing medical technology possibly ever introduced to man. It's the X39 patch, and this is it right here on my wrist. And what this technology is, it is photolight therapy. And what it does is it's photolight therapy. Your body emits light, and what the patch does is it redirects the light back into your body, triggers the copper peptide, which then regenerates your cells. And in doing so, it does something amazing, and it's almost hard to believe. And what it does is it reverses age. I don't really need to say anything more than that. It reverses age. Since the beginning of time, man has been trying to crack this code. It's been cracked. It does that amazing achievement. It reverses age. So with 6 months of use, daily use of this patch, it will reverse the age of your heart up to 8 years. This is a proven fact. All the clinical trials are done, and all legal filings are registered. All patents are registered. It is a legal fact that this reverses age, the X39 patch. And in addition to that, the testimonials are off the charts. Just go to Facebook and talk about it. Type in any kind of issue. Type in X39 plus tinnitus, X39 plus facial paralysis, X39 plus lower back pain, and watch the testimonials just populate. Because what it does, it goes to work on it reverses the age of your heart, it strengthens your heart, and that extrapolates in a number of ways. It makes your body healthy in a number of ways. But the one thing it does for sure is it makes you look younger. Without question, you will look younger. And so my question for the ladies out there, can you imagine if you're 50 years old and you wear this patch for 6 months and you can look 42? Is it worth it? It's the X39 patch. And to learn more, text the word Patriot to 330-606-2304 or inbox me on Facebook. All right, guys, thank you very much. Tamara, last question about County Clerk of Courts. What sort of sensitive data does the County Clerk of Courts oversee, and how do you protect that data from bad intentions?
Well, there's a lot of filings where you would have to submit your identification, right? So, a lot of that would go to the public records, but it would be retained by the county clerk. The county clerk also can compel records from the election office. That's a shared duty when you have an election administrator in the county. And so obviously, and then of course your proprietary systems and things like that, definitely you want good cybersecurity, because we had the Fort Bend County Library hack that happened a few months ago, and the whole Fort Bend County Library system was completely hacked. Now, I inquired about that, and that was on a separate system, but cybersecurity would be a top priority of mine, upgrading the systems, fortifying them, continuation of service, and then adding election oversight and stopping property fraud. So,
well, we're going to move to a national issue that is also a pertinent issue in the state of Texas, and that is border security. And what I remember is Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher was sort of tested by her constituents at a time when our border was overflowing with illegal aliens that were coming into our neighborhoods, being a danger to our people. And when Lizzie Fletcher, she opposed the wall, as I understand it. And when she was pressed on this by her constituents, she was flippant. And she said something like, we'll put something up like some wires or something like that. And she moved on, completely disregarded their concerns in that area. So, Alex, tell us a little bit more about that. What was her position, and how has her constituents received that position?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about something that we consistently see with Representative Fletcher. I'll call it evasiveness. Representative Fletcher is evasive. When it comes to things like the Secure the Border Act you were just mentioning and the Lake and Riley Act, she voted nay on both of those bills, clearly taking a stance that she is okay with an open border, that she is okay with letting injustices go unaddressed when it comes to illegal immigrants coming over the border and actually hurting American citizens. And when she's flipping, I mean, the thing about Representative Fletcher is she's in this seat because she's got her consistent base, her consistent fans that, despite her evasiveness, will show out every election and get her into office. But she's actually really evasive and hard to nail down and even get press releases and public commentary on injustices and things like this. And that's why we need to push her. That's why we really, in this next cycle, need to actually bring her out to a debate, bring her out into the light, because she can be very performative, very evasive. And so she'll say one thing, she'll do another. And when no one really follows up on that or holds her accountable, she gets away with it.
You know, one of the things during that time, the reason it caught my attention, her flippant attitude, is because at that time we had a number of threats directly targeting our children that were coming from the border, one of which was fentanyl. And the fentanyl strikes were happening all the way up into Traverse County, which is a good 7-hour drive from the border. And they took out a middle school, not an entire middle school, but they affected, I don't know, maybe 10 children in a middle school. It went up into the high school too, and it got a couple of children up there as well. And, you know, what are these issues at all sort of, how does Lizzie Fletcher look away from issues like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing we need to sit with going into this next cycle. Is how does she get away with that? How does this happen? And it goes back to, look, simple, not easy. It goes back to voting. I mean, if we don't show up and vote in CD7 here, we are going to let behavior like that continue. And you know, she's been in the seat. This will be her 4th term she's running for. And it really goes back to, I mean, when we think about actually checking politicians and holding them accountable for their actions, we get what we deserve. I mean, Representative Fletcher will continue to get away with bad behavior if we don't show out to the polls and actually put forth a better candidate, someone that actually, you know, won't flip-flop and won't be evasive. That's our job as voters. And so I think she gets away with it largely because there's apathy on the other side of the aisle here in the district that we as conservatives need to be better. We need to actually say, you know what, we're not letting that fly come March, come November.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the things Tamara said is that she participated in large land acquisition. I'm switching the conversation to energy, if that's okay.
Yeah.
She talked about how she participated in large land acquisition for some of our major oil producers. You know, energy and oil and gas is a major issue in the state of Texas. It's the lifeblood of Texas. Of course, it also is not only from an employment standpoint, but it's also an issue from a consuming standpoint. Rising costs of energy has hurt our elderly largely who are on fixed incomes, but it's been a thorn in the side of all of us. And LNG exports is critical. It has to be protected. It has to be allowed to flourish. Alex, what is your position on LNG exports, and how does that contrast with Lizzie Fletcher?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first of all, I would say being an energy consultant for the past 4 years, I understand energy very well, both oil and gas, power and utilities, renewables, you name it. And when we think about Texas, when we think about Houston, Houston is already the epicenter of energy in the Western Hemisphere. And it's only getting started. I mean, we're entering the demand decade where, especially in Texas, we're having more people moving here than ever before. We're having companies building data centers. I mean, we need energy. We need power. And when I think about energy companies here that, in 2024, when Biden put a freeze on LNG exports and Lizzie Fletcher has the opportunity to vote for the Unlocking LNG Potential Act, and she votes against it. She votes with Nancy Pelosi. She is directly hamstrung and hurt the P&Ls of our energy companies here that are as you said, the lifeblood of our economy. And that's just unacceptable. I mean, if I'm an energy company here and I see my congresswoman doing that, I would be dismayed to say the least. And then of course the next year in 2025, the same exact bill came up again and she voted for it. Why? Because party leadership gave her it's okay. You can do it this time. But that's performative. And that's just pandering to, whoever's in power, whoever will, you think keep you in the seat. And that's inconsistency that energy companies should find unacceptable.
You're not voting in the best interest of the people.
No, you're not, because the people that live in the city are employed by those companies.
Yeah.
I think it also reflects the fact that her constituents, it actually matters to them. I mean, if you look at Bel Air, it's slightly lefty, and you look at it's a weird district. It's meaning that it's so diverse. But you have Bel Air, then you have Meyerland Sunnyside, which is more low income, blue collar. But what I'm trying to say is that it's an issue that crosses all divides, right? The reason she voted for LNG the second time around is because she knew that it might make her vulnerable if she doesn't. But at the same time, in my opinion, Alex, should she choose to debate you, which she won't, I feel like you can flesh out the fact that she's at heart a greeny leftist.
Absolutely. I mean, she is doing whatever Nancy Pelosi wanted her to do. And we've seen that with her voting record. And again, it's a shame because when she flipped the seat from red to blue, way back against John Culberson, she did it by trying to position herself as someone that would, work across the aisle and all this stuff. And she just does whatever Nancy Pelosi wants her to do, even if it's against the energy interests of the city that she says she represents.
Of her constituents.
Right, of her constituents. That's a problem.
That is a problem. We voters, left and right. I mean, this is a problem on both sides of the aisle. We vote for representatives to vote in our best interest, and then we don't follow through as voters to see how they're voting in the Senate and the House, and they end up voting against the people, and that does happen on the left quite a bit more, but we see it on the right side of the aisle as well. They're not voting in the best interest of the people. They're voting in the best interest of themselves. They're voting in the best interest of lobbyists. That's a huge problem. And so I just want to see representatives that are truly in it for the people.
It's rare. I mean, they're also here representing foreign interests, okay? And one area you can find that is in our electrical grid. And we've had people from the Railroad Commission, Wayne Christensen, show up, and he explained how in the Railroad Commission, it's the body that regulates our oil and gas sector and our energy grid. And our energy grid is largely dictated by investors from foreign countries. Okay,
it's true.
So the question is, why today is our energy grid going from reliable sources, oil and gas, to unreliable sources, solar and wind? It's, in my opinion, it is a tactic of hostile nations to take us out, and so it's a bad thing. My question for you, Alex, is that not one more area that Lizzie Fletcher is sort of against the people? She's for these dangerous, unproductive technologies.
Yeah, I mean, I love your use of the word. I mean, just calling it for what it often is. It's often unproductive. I mean, look, I'm all for innovation. That's in our American DNA, entrepreneurial spirit. But when you're just subsidizing new technologies that you don't fully understand, or they're inefficient and they're really costly and they're not mature, I mean, let's go back to the basics. Again, let's go back to the fundamentals. Our economy is built on a really robust, really operationally efficient oil and gas economy. And so if we're just throwing money at almost, science experiment energy projects that don't really work, that aren't ready, that to your point may have even significant risks from a geopolitical perspective,
Absolutely.
That's bad. That's a bad idea. And to be performed and say, oh, it sounds good to just support these science experiment projects that aren't ready. I mean, again, that's performative politics, and that's why I'm running for this seat. I'm sick of the performative politics.
Wonderful. And the Texas winter freeze, one of the reasons that we did lose power was there was about 23% of the grid was on solar at that time and renewables that went offline. So we lost almost a quarter of our grid during the Texas winter freeze, and that's what caused so many people to lose power for days to a week and burst all the pipes.
And then it spiked in price.
That was
it a whole
from
mess.
renewables that did not work in the winter, and these government grants for these renewables need to stop. We need to focus on oil and gas, period.
I mean, China's moving to nuclear, and we're moving to renewables, right? We need to get that word out of our vocabulary, renewables. They're not renewables. They're just wasteful energy. But we survived the freeze. But with the trajectory that they have us going on, where a larger percentage of our energy, of our electrical grid will be taken over by these unreliable sources, it's going to make, it's a real threat. Should another, freeze or other weather storm happen?
Well, I will speak to the fact that the Republican Party has had a lot of successes in this legislative session, especially SB 17 with Senator Colcourt's bill to restrict foreign adversaries from buying land in Texas, and that includes our resources. And this is a huge step that, she had tried to get that bill passed in the 88th legislative session. It failed because we had, Martha Wong and Jean Wu, Democrat Jean Wu and Republican Martha Wong arguing against that bill as being xenophobic. And so, which is just ridiculous. We don't want foreign adversaries buying land in Texas. And so this bill passed this year. And I think that that's going to help us not only for national security, but also for our resources. We're not going to allow foreign adversaries to buy our resources anymore, so we can focus on, keeping it Texas owned.
Well,
right?
okay, so also Greg Abbott took steps, and he passed, I believe it was called the Texas Infrastructure Lone Star Act, which prevented foreign adversaries from buying land that attached to our electrical grid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of these steps are being taken to protect our assets, while at the same time we have an internal hostile threat that wants to put us on a trajectory that places us on an increasingly basis on unreliable technologies.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Can I say one more thing on this topic that you just made me think of that I wanted to bring up earlier? Both of us have a significant energy experience.
Right.
And I think that's part of the core and fabric of who we are as Texans, as who we are as, even Houstonians. And Representative Fletcher doesn't have that experience.
Right.
So again, why is Houston being represented by someone that doesn't understand energy, oil and gas, much less the entire energy industry? That's a problem.
It's the heart of this state, and I really do think that oil and gas is God's gift to mankind. It's not as horrible as the leftist curriculums make it out to be. We need to embrace it and drill, baby, drill. Okay, that's like Trump said.
It was Sarah Palin that said it.
No,
Yes.
Trump said drill.
She
baby.
said it first, he said it
Okay,
second.
I'm always going to think Sarah Palin.
wow.
She did
okay.
say that first.
Good.
No, you corrected me. You're right. Okay. Okay, so I want to read a quote from Alex. Alex, here's what I read from your materials. Nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Dow and X Energy are building SMRs at the Sea Drift site on the Gulf Coast. Expected operational by end of decade. I will back the Strengthening America Nuclear Energy Act. Explain that paragraph in full.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are already, when we think about renewables, when we think about nuclear, companies are already investing OpEx and CapEx into projects to get nuclear plants online. Case in point with the Seadrift facility. And again, I brought up the energy decade. I mean, look, oil and gas isn't going anywhere. If anything, we're going to need to continue ramping up production. But I mean, we need all hands on deck. And nuclear is proven to be a really, efficient, clean way to get energy. And I'm really excited to see where our state continues to go, because we're seeing the demand curve And we're trying to meet the need with projects like this. So I'm very
real quick,
excited,
I'm sorry.
optimistic.
I'm sorry. Okay. Dow and X Energy are building SMRs. What's an SMR?
A small modular reactor.
At the Seadrift site on the Gulf.
Yeah.
Where's the Seadrift site?
Where is it exactly on the Gulf?
It's Texas?
Yeah. Yeah, it's in Texas.
Okay.
Good.
On the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any idea how many of these SMRs they're building? So these are small nuclear plants?
Yes. Small modular reactors. And I don't know the number, but this is
Give
all
me,
very
like
early
rough
stage.
idea. Is it early stage? It's a plan, or they're already doing construction?
I think they're already building prototypes.
Okay, so do you have any idea how expansive this plan is? Is it for multiple of these things, or?
I mean, they've just started.
Yeah.
So I think none of
It's
us
really-
really know that much.
in the
but
infantile
I'm excited
stages.
it's starting. Yeah.
Well, that could be an indicator of a change in direction. How's Lizzie Fletcher going to fare when her green agenda is sort of tripped up?
Eclipsed by
Yeah, right.
nuclear expansion? It's a great question.
Yeah. What is the Strengthening America Nuclear Energy Act? What is that?
We've put forth legislation at the federal level to start getting money into nuclear, encouraging companies to invest in nuclear. And so that's what that act was about. That's what we're seeing with X Energy and their expansion out at Seadrift. So it's very exciting. I mean, you even look at how 3 Mile Island is being brought back online. I mean, largely to power AI efforts. But you're seeing this around the country. You're seeing companies taking an interest.
Yeah, I mean,
in
there
nuclear
is
again.
there is a lot of exciting things happening. I really think that we might be in a paradigm shift where this leftist agenda is being thwarted. What was the example you just gave?
3 Mile Island.
No, the AI, right?
Oh, yes,
yeah.
yes.
These plans to
The
feed
use
AI.
cases.
There's a really it's something we really need to watch because they want to pull water from really bad areas. I have an idea though. Imagine if we quit sending our money overseas, right? We're the only country that Nick Tran said this. We're the only country that's taxed to send your money to other people overseas.
It's ridiculous.
That's
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
criminal.
Yeah.
But imagine if we could keep that money here. What kind of, for example, desalination plants, which are very expensive. But imagine if we could invest that kind of infrastructure money back into our own country and the kind of infrastructure and expansion that we have with things like, desalination plants and
Mining for uranium.
Right.
Right,
Going
for
back to
our-
our resources,
for our nuclear
we're rich
plants.
with resources.
We
These
are
SMRs.
rich in
It'd
resources.
It'd be great to reinvest back into
Mining
the
and
companies that are taking
manufacturing.
risks to get these resources out of the ground and get these plants up and running.
Yeah. We shouldn't have to import those. We should be able to expand on our mining capabilities and reinvest in our country, which I think Trump is doing. I mean, we're at the start of the golden age, and I see the affordability for everybody is getting better. Prices are coming down. Inflation is down. And I do believe that we are at the start of a golden age. And I hope that Republican voters will come out and really keep this going, because we'll lose it if they don't vote.
You guys are putting me in a good mood. Okay, I got one more thing from Alex's materials. Champion permitting reform. Infrastructure projects take 4 to 5 years just to clear federal review, costing 100 to 140 billion with a B annually in delayed investment. I will push the SPEED Act and pipeline review reform. Explain that paragraph to us, Alex.
Yeah. What's happening is companies will have, when it comes to permitting, let's say you have a project that you'd like to bring online. It's part of you've shared it with your investors. This is what your company is going to invest a lot of money into, and you're going to make a lot of money by doing it and help American citizens. Whether that's building, let's just use a midstream pipeline as an example. There's so much bureaucracy at the federal level that slows everything down just because there are all sorts of permits and hoops and obstacles to jump through, where again, you're actually just creating friction and hamstringing companies from being able to operate efficiently and effectively. And it's just a direct attack on,
Free markets.
It's an attack on free markets. It's an attack, again, on the city of Houston and all the people that work for these companies that they're saying, man, everyone will win if we get this new pipeline created,
Over-regulation
if we
is
get
a
this new infrastructure implemented. When we're just permitting and restricting and creating red tape, no one wins.
Yeah.
Bureaucrats who are virtue signaling by somehow saying, oh, it's dangerous or whatever their reason is.
I mean, China is in such an expansive growth mode. And when they need a bridge built, they build the bridge.
Yeah,
Right? It gets
exactly.
cleared in a matter of weeks. And I'm not saying that's best practices, but it might be the North Star that we need to shoot for.
Right.
To break up all these bureaucratic players that are holding down the process simply for the purpose of costing us money.
Exactly. Well said.
I think Elon Musk said it last year that we are overregulated, and that is restricting our growth. That is restricting our jobs. That is restricting everything. We've got way too many bureaucratic layers, way too many regulations. That needs to be cleaned up.
Okay, guys, I'm going to shift direction on you big time.
Okay.
We have a huge portion of our audience is homeschoolers, and they are very protective and defensive of the homeschooling agenda in the state of Texas, which is really a freedom-based agenda. It's live and let live, and leave my kids alone. And considering the state of our schools, I can't really blame them. In many ways, some of the things that we've talked about in this show here, the schools have turned dark in some ways. And so I want to go to you, Alex. As I understand it, you are a product of homeschooling.
Absolutely. I'm a proud product of homeschooling, third grade through 12th grade.
Amazing.
So tell me what that means for you. What is the state of homeschooling today in the state of Texas? What is the quality of it? Of course, when it was first introduced, it was attacked and berated as being inadequate, and they didn't develop the social skills and everything of that sort. But what is the state of it today?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked me about this. I mean, look, I sometimes look back at my family and my mom and feel like we walked so that homeschooling today could run. I mean, homeschooling has really blown up and taken off, and I think that's because people are seeing. I mean, one, it's a reaction to subpar public schools. Going back to what we talked about earlier, that pushed people towards homeschooling. But also families just realizing that homeschooling is an unbelievable way to, not only build community among siblings, among family friends, but also among churches and among local communities. I mean, it's just an unbelievable way to let children even learn at their own pace and yet still equip them for all the challenges they're going to face in the real world. I mean, one thing I even think about is lots of times people will. The critique that you used to always get of homeschooling was, to your point, the kids are sheltered, the kids are unsocialized. But the thing is, when you think about the actual socialization at times going on in schools, I mean, was it really socialization, or was it learning immature behavior? Was it learning, was it getting bullied? There are lots of things that socialization in a school entailed that homeschoolers actually have the luxury of being free from. And it's funny because people would always ask me that question of, how'd you turn out so normal? And I think it goes back to my family, my parents. And I think so many of these parents that have made this choice really are doing it out of love, doing it out of care for their children. And your kid's going to turn out all right if that's the goal, if that's the plan. And I mean, even when I went off to Baylor, I was freshman and sophomore class president right off the bat. Everyone said, "How are you so normal? Why are you so social?" Again, it starts in the home, and I think the misconceptions of homeschooling that were back in the day are slowly shedding away. People are realizing how great an educational model it is.
I think it is great because one of the things missing from public school is God. And so you walk into every school and you'll see a plaque in KDISD that says, "In God we trust." That's great. And I'm very happy that the 10 Commandments have been brought in, and I donated a box to be put in each classroom. But in the absence of God, that vacuum is filled with things like bullying and drugs and sexuality and, so it's not socialization. It's detrimental behaviors that don't benefit a child necessarily. And I'm not saying all schools are bad, but in the absence of God, I think that we have a bit of a problem in our public education system. So,
Great. Well, guys, I think we covered a myriad of topics, gave the listeners quite a lot to think about. I do appreciate your time, but is there anything that either of you two want to talk about on the way out?
I just want to say that I am running for Fort Bend County Clerk. My website is tamaraforfortbend.com. And please go to my website and get to know about me. I'm running to end property fraud and to add the much necessary and lacking election integrity oversight over our election office. And I just have a heart for service, and I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, everyone, my name's Alex Hale, running for U.S. Congress in CD7, and I would encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, to go out and vote. We are determining who will be on the ballot come November, and I would really appreciate your help and your support. You can learn more at halefortexas.com. But just again, to reaffirm a little bit about my background and being homeschooled and going off to Baylor, coming back to the city. I mean, this is a grassroots campaign of Houstonians that we're building here. And I'd love to bring you on board. I'd love your help and support. I mean, when I jumped in the race, I jumped in with no money. I jumped in with nothing but conviction and hope, and God has done amazing things through this race so far, and he'll continue to. I'd love to work with you.
And I want to close out with a message for the Cypress Republicans. The Cypress Republicans checked in with me, and they are asking for a call to action at the voter polls from our conservative communities, from our family-based communities, from our faith-based communities. The Cypress Republicans are asking you to get out there and get the vote in. You know, we are in an opportunity to take our city back, to take the great city of Houston back, but it can only be done if you get involved today and you go out and vote. We are the 300 at the pass. The Cypress Republicans are the 300 at the pass. And so it's time for that to happen. Guys, we appreciate you. It's great times. Get it done out there. Get to those polls. And we'll see you back here soon at the Chris Heasley Show on Radio Da Bang. Have a great week.
This is the Chris Heasley Show, a Mike Kahn presentation. Coming to you from Radio Da Bang, the North America's premier broadcasting network.